Okay, so my next guest, again, very excited to have her on the show today to talk to her. She's a New England-based screenwriter, director, producer. She recently won a Best Screenplay Award at the Rhode Island International Film Festival, which is starting tonight. And she's here to talk to us about her newest project. Jennifer Potts, come on out.
Hi. How are you?
Good. I'm doing so well. Here, I'm going to move this.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I love this little connection because Jennifer is actually the reason why I am here right now.
Indirectly.
Indirectly.
You're the reason you're here.
Well, okay. So I had the privilege of working on your latest production, The Extraordinary World of Cecily Blinkstop. And when I did my little interview here, this little ball got rolling. But I would love to talk to you about this production. As I said, you are based in New England.
Yep.
You just did your production here of this short film. The feature-length version is the one that recently won the award I just mentioned. And it was really cool because you made a commitment to have at least 50% of your crew women.
Yep.
And 80% of your cast and crew based in New England. So let's talk about the women thing first.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, so talk to me about why you made that decision to commit to 50%.
Well, I think everybody now knows that women are underrepresented in film sets in general, particularly in major creative roles. So cinematographers, directors, editors, we're completely underrepresented. But right now, coming out of film school, the stats are 50% women. So for me, it was important to make sure that I provided 50% of the jobs on my set to honor the 50% statistics of children. So that's how old I am. Of students coming out of film school. So
Well, there were some children involved as well.
there
but
were some. Yes. Oh, yes.
And how did you find that process easy, or was it difficult to find these ladies?
No, it was very easy. Actually, I made sure that people understood that was part of my goal.
Right.
When I was hiring, and I turned women away.
Wow.
And I think about 65% of my crew were women. I didn't pick people because of their gender.
Right.
I picked the best person for the job.
Right. And I can say that the production was phenomenally well run from a back of the camera point of view.
Well, that's because we had the most amazing female.
Man,
Mindy.
it was she was amazing.
Phenomenal. Yes.
How did you feel just generally about how the production went?
I'm very organized.
Yes,
You
you are.
that.
You are.
You were one of my wonderful gifts in this. There is no question about it. I actually just went through a rough cut, and every time you're in the frame,
Oh my goodness.
it's beautiful. I'm not kidding, actually. So, but I feel like it's when you're organized, things can go wrong, and you can adjust and you can react. But when you're going into a production with chaos, there's always something that goes wrong in production, and so it's important, for me to go in knowing that I have all my ducks in a row,
Right.
that I have everybody that's most qualified person that I can find for every position. That goes from all the way down to, production assistants, up to my actors, my cinematographer, everybody. And I feel like 99% of this production, which is pretty good,
Yeah.
was about as top notch as far as the people were concerned.
Agreed. Totally agreed. And you did have a sort of an extra challenge, and that is that there are children in this film, and there are certain, just from a technical point of view, there are kind of union rules about how you work
Child
with
labor
yeah.
laws. Mhm.
So there were those to consider when scheduling, and just kids being kids. So how did you feel about working with the
exhausting. I have 5 children, and you would think that I would know how exhausting that was.
Right.
But It wasn't until I had a rehearsal the week prior to production that I thought, oh my dear Lord, what have I done?
Oh my goodness.
But they, they did pretty well.
I mean, they're
all
pros. Those
things
kids were pros.
considered, yeah.
The one funny thing, though, was the day that we were shooting the dinner scenes, and they just kept eating and drinking and eating and drinking, even when you weren't shooting, when you weren't rolling.
I was
like
afraid
getting a
they were
stomach
going to
ache for
throw
it.
up.
Me too.
Especially the one that Barney,
Yeah.
Little Emmett, kept drinking milk at the top of every take. And they're supposed to do the same thing
Right.
over and over again every take. But I didn't realize it because we were shooting from behind, and my focus behind him. And my focus was really elsewhere while we were shooting the first take. And then when we moved the camera, and I saw him chugging the milk every single take. I said, "I do that every time?" So yes, he did that about 25 or 30 times.
Drank
It's just
a
awful.
gallon of milk.
Yeah, but he didn't throw up.
He didn't throw up, so that's always a win.
Yeah, that
That's
was
a win.
exhausting.
So, let's talk a little about your background as a filmmaker and a sort of theater lover. You initially went to school for theater arts.
did.
You ran a theater company in Fitchburg
Yeah.
for a while.
For 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I started in a church. I actually, I went to school in New Jersey, and I worked for the Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey, and then we had babies, this works, and we
How
moved.
that goes.
And I have, like I said, 5 children. And so when my youngest went to kindergarten, I just couldn't do it anymore. It just needed, I was started to paint murals. I'm not a visual artist, and I could paint murals on the walls. Something was going on. So I tried to find a job in the theater, and where I live, there are no professional theaters. And so I just, where there's nothing, you build something. So I
Awesome.
started building things, and actually my last show, tribute to Sam Shepard, I did
Oh, I
True
know,
West. That was
R.I.P.
my favorite show that I ever did,
Yeah.
and the favorite show that I ever directed. My last show in the theater. So.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's kind of
And then so
amazing.
life goes on, and you need new challenges. And
right.
I love the theater, but I really wanted to edit. Like, there were certain plays that I would be directing, and I thought, if I could just cut here and then
Right.
go here, but you can't do that in the theater. Everything
Right.
is copyrighted. You have to receive permission to do that. So I had an intern who was a film student,
Uh-huh.
and he lent me his textbooks, and I read all about film editing.
Oh,
And
fun.
fell in love with the idea of being able to actually go in after I have all the performances
Right.
and tell the story in the best possible way.
Yeah, because a lot of storytelling in film is from the editor. I mean,
Yeah.
you can act, you can direct, but once that footage is there, it's that
can
editor
change.
they can
It's-
change the story completely.
It's fantastic. It's the best one to me. It's the best part of it.
So, but you decided to kind of take this leap, go back to school and study film.
Yeah.
And-
And my kids were in school. All my kids are going to college. I'm like, we're already broke. So why don't I go back to school with them?
Right.
And so I did. I studied for 2 years undergrad with young people. It was a little crazy. And then I went to grad school and got my master's in screenwriting. Because I fell in love with screenwriting too, which is
Yeah.
weird because in theater I never really enjoyed playwriting.
Mm.
I mean, I took playwriting, and in fact, the man who directs my MFA program that I did was my theater professor, my playwriting professor, undergrad when I was
Oh,
like
wow.
20. So he's known me since I was 18.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that was really strange. And we're actually, I send him notes every once in a while to remind him that I'm never going away. but so now I've written a play too that's being produced in Tampa this
Oh.
fall. So I guess I became a playwright as well
Wow.
as a screenwriter while I was there because they forced me to write a
They
play.
were just making you.
Yeah.
That is so funny. So your directing and screenwriting so far have sort of gone hand in hand.
Yes.
You've written, directed, produced your own pieces. Your last short film, Charlie and Poppy, which is a beautiful film, wrote, directed. The Extraordinary World of Cecily Blinkstop, obviously. Is there anything in your future where you may write a script that someone else directs, or direct something that someone else writes? Do
Yeah,
or do you like the control?
No, I like having material to work with.
Yeah.
And there's, money involved with buying material. It's very different than directing a play where you pay,
Like
just
a royalty fee,
a royalty
yeah.
fee every night. So I like having material.
Yeah.
Basically, but no, if I found a script, there's a screenwriter that was in my MFA program who wrote a script that is so fantastic that I dream about directing this.
Oh.
So, yeah, I would
Okay.
definitely direct someone else's, and I have a screenplay that I couldn't afford to direct independently, but it's really good.
Mm.
I think it's really good.
Mhm.
It's called A Girl Named
Yes.
Harry. But it takes place in LA, and it just, all of the logistics
Mm.
are just much more expensive than
Mhm.
something that I would take on. So that's one that I would sell it to the
Okay.
right person. Yeah.
So your screenwriting has already gotten you a lot of accolades, among which tonight starts the Rhode Island International Film Festival. You've won a screenplay award. What was that process? Did you just kind of submit your screenplay and just sit around and wait? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You
Yeah.
submit with everything. I mean,
Wow,
that's
crazy.
We're in the land of rejection. So
yes.
screenwriters, directors, I mean, you get a good 25 rejections before you get an acceptance, but then to get an award is just, a nice little icing on the cake. So
Yeah.
so this was a nice surprise from a really established festival, and it's
Absolutely.
actually for the feature-length version of this screenplay, which I produced the short in an effort to raise the funds to direct and produce the feature. So
Right.
this, kind of helps. Everything helps.
What do you think the plan is? Do you think you can parlay this win? Do you think you can parlay this sort of attention to get to that point?
I wish.
Yeah.
That sounds so good. No, I think there's a road ahead. I think
Yeah.
it's, I sat down and did some of the math. I think we're looking at 2 years before
Mhm.
we would produce the feature. And I have a little path that I think I can take using the short film as a visual reference and when you go to someone to ask them to invest $100,000
Yeah.
in your film, and you have nothing to show them,
Right.
but maybe a lookbook, which is, is fun, but it doesn't say what you can do,
Right.
or it doesn't show what you can do. So I feel like there's a good path now that we can start to take. And of course, I know how this path works. I have it all lined out. It's a map from A to Z, but it's not going to work that way.
Right,
And it
it'll
never
go
does.
like this.
Yeah, doors close, and you have to just adjust.
Right.
And when one closes, you need to figure out either need to bang it down until
Yeah.
they let you in, or you find a new path. And it's just the way this business works.
Yes.
You have to have really thick skin.
Absolutely.
I'd make a terrible president right now. 'Cause I have much thicker
yes,
skin.
exactly. You could handle it all.
I can handle it.
You wouldn't be tweeting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I don't tweet.
Yeah.
I don't really tweet. No.
I don't really
My
either.
Facebook tweets for me.
Good.
And that
Yeah.
just works enough. That's enough for me. I don't really want to. I'm turned off by it right now. So. Ooh.
Yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean. To just avoid that space altogether.
Mhm, exactly.
But as far as The Extraordinary World of Cecily Blinkstop, the short film will be finished soon-ish, for film, in the
October,
film
November,
world.
Right.
Will we have opportunity to see the short film, or are you going to kind of keep it close to the chest until the feature?
So what we will do is we will actually privately screen it. So all of our, the people that came out and funded the film will have an opportunity to see it. And then we will start submitting it to festivals.
Oh, great.
We've already targeted which festivals we feel will get the most visibility with funders. And that is one path that we are going. We will also be submitting it next summer to New York Women in Film's script to production program, which
Cool.
is kind of how this whole thing started. Long story, I'm not going to go into it, but doors close sometimes,
Yes.
and they tell you what you need to do. So, we have a road ahead of us, a couple years.
Yeah.
Like Sundance deadlines are coming up, so we won't even be able to submit to Sundance until next year.
Right.
And
right.
with that, if we decide that we think we're going to get in, which, you know, is so crazy to even decide you're going to get in, but we have to look what their regulations are, because sometimes you can't, for short films, they tend to have a little more leniency, but sometimes you can't actually submit elsewhere in the country, or state, or, you know.
That's a lot to keep track of. Goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can find out more about this film. You can keep in the loop at CecilyBlinkstop.com. If you are going to be attending the Rhode Island International Film Festival opening ceremony and party tonight, we'll be there. Yep. And Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show.
So good to see you.
Yes, so great to see you too. Good luck with the project and everything else.